set it up here for Staal. Right back for Burns. Burns looks for the deflection and gets one from Jarvis, and Ullmark had to go all out to get a piece. Carolina trying to clear, but it'll bounce out in front. Set up for Pinto's drive, they'll score. Carolina failed to clear, and Shane Pinto finds the seam and puts Ottawa on the board first. It's 1-0 Sens. Kotkaniemi, he drags, shot right on, save made. Robinson with a follow-up. Ullmark standing stout again.
Welcome to the Canes Corner podcast. I am Adam Gold. Frustrating night for your Carolina Hurricanes. My Carolina Hurricanes, all of our Carolina Hurricanes. They lose at 3-0 to the Ottawa Senators here at Lenovo Center. And this home stretch, which actually didn't just begin on Tuesday, because I think we all agreed that coming out of those two games with Florida after a couple of days off, Carolina was looking at two home games, Seattle and Colorado, the game at the Islanders, and then these four at home, San Jose, Ottawa, Columbus, New York. And I said at the beginning of it, I said that the Hurricanes needed to get 12 points out of these 14 because I thought this was the perfect opportunity to reestablish your game. And frankly, the Hurricanes so far, how many games are we through this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games to it. Hurricanes have played one good game, one really good game. I mean, today wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good enough. And the Sharks game wasn't terrible, although it was for a little bit, but they were so good in the third period, and San Jose isn't good enough. Carolina got away with it, but they weren't getting away with it tonight. And again, they were okay tonight. They weren't awful tonight, but they weren't good enough tonight. And Linus Ullmark played well, and Pyotr Kochetkov played well also until he didn't. And that second goal was the end of this game. We're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it is for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hanna and his crew do a great job. So you should just check them out at aluminumcompany.com. I want to start. We don't do a lot of this. To see if I can't let you hear a little bit from Sebastian Aho in the locker room right after the game. Here's Seabass. Nope, we're not going to be able to hear it. It's not going to come through the system. So what Aho basically said was we didn't allow a lot, and they didn't. The Aho line didn't get outplayed by the Tim Stützle line, and that was basically the matchup. So they canceled each other out, but ultimately, Aho, Svechnikov, Roslovic didn't create. They didn't generate. Necas, Kotkaniemi, Robinson didn't really generate. I would argue that the Kotkaniemi, Robinson, Necas line generated a little bit more, but they also gave up more. So though Carolina's top two scoring lines were just okay. And again, they didn't allow much, and I think that's what people need to understand is that the head coach really judges things by what you give up. And the Hurricanes didn't give up a ton. It really didn't. Ottawa scored, honestly, one goal on Carolina. Second goal should never have gone in. So not a lot was given up. Carolina's two best lines in terms of generating offense, creating pressure, were the Staal line, which was Carolina's best line, and Tyson Jost, Jackson Blake, and William Carrier. And I didn't think that line created a lot of good scoring chances, like really dangerous scoring chances, but they had some opportunities and just didn't, that's probably not a line that you expect to score a lot of goals. So look, I think there are some misconceptions about what tonight was. Tonight was relatively even. I just think that in the margins, Ottawa was better. I thought Carolina was soft on pucks, especially in their own end. had some hard time clearing the zone, except Carolina was still able to recover, play good enough defensively, get support from forwards and the offside defensemen to mitigate the damage and really not give up a lot of scoring chances, even though they weren't great at getting the puck out of the zone. And that's what cost them on the first goal. We'll go through that. But they didn't really generate much. And I thought it was kind of misleading that Carolina had generated more scoring chances than Ottawa through 2 periods, because I don't really think they did. And I'll illustrate some examples in terms of, because sometimes you can have a scoring chance and not have a shot. And that epitomizes Eric Robinson tonight, who I think had 1 shot on goal, yet 3 high danger scoring chances. That's kind of not great. If you're getting high danger chances, we need to have that puck on net. So I thought there were some physical battles lost. And again, when it came right down to it, in a battle of goaltenders, Linus Ullmark was better than Pyotr Kochetkov. It was close for a while. And then the second goal was just a killer. Should never have gone in at any point. Should never have gone in. All right, so Aho also talked about a lack of chemistry. I think we're realizing that, and it's something that has to be addressed. And maybe this is on Aho, to be honest. I don't know. But I think we know Aho's got chemistry with Jarvis. I think we're going to have to get to that at some point. And maybe you simply use Svechnikov as the battering ram power forward on a line with Aho and Jarvis. Jarvis plays very well with Staal and Martinook, which is why Rod Brindamore keeps him there, or has him there at least, enough of the time. And I know that annoys a lot of people. But I actually think that line was effective, could have scored tonight. It just didn't. All right, let's try. Let me go through a few things. A special guest is going to join us, somebody who wore the logo of the Ottawa Senators during his professional athletics career. He did. He wore the logo of the Ottawa Senators during his professional athletic career. He's going to join us in just a few minutes. So Carolina outshot. I think it was 32-22 was the ultimate total. A lot of that came late after Carolina had pulled Pyotr Kochetkov with a little bit more than 3 minutes to go in the third period. To me, it was the right move to pull Kochetkov. You really weren't generating anything at 5-on-5. So who cares if you lose 2-0 or 5-0? It doesn't matter. Carolina desperately trying to create something. So they really didn't. They didn't really generate a lot of chances at 6-on-5, which is kind of indicative of the night. But there were a lot of shots and a lot of attempts from distance, which is, frankly, part of Carolina's game, is to get shots from the point. Burns, Gostisbehere, Orlov, Chatfield, put a lot of shots, towards the net. What Carolina didn't have a lot of tonight was a net front presence. There was a lot of net side presence. Now, that's all well and good if there are rebounds, but Linus Ullmark saw everything tonight. So all those shots from deep, they're not threatening. They're not going in. There's not enough of a bother in front of Ullmark to make his life difficult, to create any doubt. There were at times some bodies, but not nearly enough. And if you don't have, a stick or a leg or a body in front of the goaltender when you're shooting from 45, 50 feet, if that goal goes in, that goaltender gets pulled. And Carolina just didn't have enough of a net front presence tonight. And Jordan Staal talked about it, that they needed to be harder in the offensive zone. They weren't. He didn't really discuss some of their softer plays in the defensive zone, but he did mention the fact that there really wasn't enough of net front presence tonight. So a couple of more quick numbers here. Then we're going to talk to a friend for a few minutes. They did lose some physical battles, but it wasn't an egregious, like they weren't outplayed up and down the ice. I do think that Ottawa was better. And because of that, they were a little bit tougher to play against than Carolina was tonight. That's where you get into the margins. So let me just go through the goal really first, and then we'll get to our special guest. Because the first goal, I think, was kind of indicative of the way Carolina played, but were kind of getting away with it is not the right word, because I thought they erased a lot of their own mistakes. So Carolina, puck stays in the defensive zone, probably shouldn't have, but it did. And then Jesperi Kotkaniemi gets the puck out from behind the net, and he's got time. He's got space. And he has two options. He can play the puck closer to Eric Robinson, who is being pressured, or he can play the puck through a body, but out towards center where Necas is. He chooses the easier pass, but maybe the one where there's still a lot of work to do to get it out. He certainly could have just dumped it off the boards out to center. Passes the puck to Robinson. His soft play gets knocked down. It stays in. Shane Pinto scores his first goal since opening night. I like the player. First goal since opening night. That makes it 1-0, but it was really an avoidable situation for Carolina. Kotkaniemi probably needs to make a better play, but the mistake was made by Robinson, whose pretty soft clear was knocked down in the offensive zone. So, you got guys up ice. You don't have enough cover for Kochetkov. There were bodies in front of him also, and that makes it 1-0. The second goal was the killer right after the power play expired in the third period. No way Kochetkov can allow that goal. And this is what we're dealing with pretty much all year long. And we'll talk about goaltending because, Ottawa is getting pretty good goaltending right now, but Ottawa's been through it. The Senators have had goaltending issues for several years. And right now, Carolina's playing a game where I don't like it, where we're kind of waiting for Frederik Andersen to come back. And he's not going to be back until the middle of February. So I think something has to be done. All right. Let me bring in somebody who, during his professional athletic career, wore the Ottawa Senators logo. His name is Brad Fritsch, former PGA Tour golfer, now a man who sells some of the greatest golf gloves you've ever seen. Red Rooster. Mr. Fritsch, congratulations to your Senators tonight. Are you wearing Senators logo, or are you wearing a Red Rooster polo right now? Hold on one second. Why can't I hear you? I got you. No, wait. You have to unmute your mic. We'll get him back. We'll get Brad back in a second. He has to unmute his mic. So when he unmutes his mic, we can, let's see. Now, are you there? Yes, you are.
I am here.
All right. Is that a Red Rooster polo?
It is, yes.
Good.
I was nervous because, it was only a 1-goal lead in the third period, and I didn't want to don all my Senators gear. That would be premature.
Well, look, I think you and I have talked about this before. I like the team. I like the Senators. I like the way they play. I didn't think there was a ton separating these two teams tonight, but as I started the podcast, I thought in the margins, I thought Ottawa played a little bit of a harder game. I thought maybe they forced Carolina to make a few more mistakes. The second goal was a killer that Kochetkov allowed. On no planet can you allow that goal. And Linus Ullmark, for the first time in his entire career, wins a game against the Carolina Hurricanes. Were you surprised they started Ullmark?
No, he's been really good the last four or five starts, and you and I talked about this at the beginning of the season. after they got Ullmark, like he has to be the guy, right? Like
Right.
they've tried to go out and get guys who were okay, like a Korpisalo, and
Mhm.
hopefully his game would elevate. They went on and got 2-time Stanley Cup champion Matt Murray and
Mhm.
attempted to guess that he would rejuvenate his career. Didn't happen. Ullmark is the first guy, and you were a little bit on the not negative side with him, but you were questioning that move, I think, at the beginning of the season,
Yeah.
wondering if he could bring what they needed. And at the beginning of the year, he did not bring what they needed.
Mhm.
And lately he has. So that was good to see tonight. It was a very Ottawa played a very Keynesy game tonight. You
Mhm.
know, their goaltender came up with some big saves, but their defenseman blocked a lot of shots,
Yeah.
a lot of sticks in the way, no egregious mistakes in the defensive zone, and Carolina made a couple of mistakes that typically Ottawa would make in their maturation process over the last playoffless 7 years that it's been. So it was, it was a they're terrible in Raleigh too. Terrible. We've gone over this several times. I think 3-14 in their last 17 at Lenovo Center. They are 3-0 now in the salary cap area on Friday the 13th. I learned that today. So that's something. That was a good omen last night. The VP of comms said, "Hey, they're 2-0 on Friday the 13th
Look at that.
in the salary cap era. So this might be the one."
All right.
Um,
Let me ask you this, because the Senators now are one game over. They're 14-13-2. But they're 6-2-1 in their last 9 games. So clearly certain things have gotten better. And I don't think anybody is, when you look at the roster, up and down the roster, I mean, yeah, Stützle is the best player. Brady Tkachuk is outstanding. But I don't think either of those two guys were the difference tonight. It was a guy like Shane Pinto taking advantage of a of a mistake, of an error by Robinson, but it was also a forced mistake, and we can't lose sight of that. But I thought their defense just didn't allow Carolina to get anything going. Carolina's forwards tonight were, just non-existent. Their best forwards, all of their scoring forwards. Andrei Svechnikov had 0 shots on goal. Carolina's not going to win a lot of games when Andrei's that quiet. You guys did a good job on him.
So the defense has been touch and go like for the past several years. Nick Jenson on the second pair, who scored the goal, not exactly an offensive dynamo in his own right, but he's such a stabilizing guy on the right side for Shabbat, and Shabbat has played so well this year in kind of a rejuvenating year for him, and he's such an important player for Ottawa because he logs a ton of minutes. He logged too many minutes over the past several seasons. You know, he'd be over 25, 26 a night, and that's just, you wear a guy out like that. But he's had a phenomenal year on the second pair. Travis Hamonic tonight on the first pair, which you don't want him to be on the first pair, but Zub is out for the next while, so he's had to play, and he was pretty good tonight. He's a block shot warrior, but he can handle the puck like a grenade sometimes, and that's what gets the first pair in trouble. So no, they were both good. And then the third pair, which is kind of a work in progress, Tyler Clevin, Jacob Bernard-Docker, very young, green, but they handled themselves well tonight. And when they needed to get the puck out, the puck would get out. They played a simple game tonight. And I think Trip Tracy made a really good point. If Carolina scores first in that game, Ottawa, the way that they play trailing in the game completely changes. It's not supposed to, but it just does happen. And that game could have gone the other way, but Ullmark was the difference. And like you said, that second goal was really the killer for the Canes, because that can't go in. And at the time, 6-7 minutes left in the game, that was just that was the knife right there.
I think there was less than that, because I think the penalty was called with about 6.5 minutes to go. So I think we're approaching the 4-minute mark, when maybe it was 4.5 or something like that. But and that's just a terrible goal. And this is what Carolina has been dealing with, I think, all season long with Pyotr Kochetkov. and we're sitting here where we're waiting for Kochetkov to kick on. And last year, a year ago yesterday, was the game, incidentally, in Ottawa that Kochetkov turned his season around. He had, I think he might have given up a goal, might have been a shutout. I don't really remember, but he was spectacular in the game. That was the game where Brady Tkachuk had the penalty shot, right?
The poke check.
The poke check, which was, look, Brady didn't like it. It was one of the most entertaining things of the entire season. But that started, I actually thought, as good as he was that night, he was better the next game in Detroit because he was steady. He wasn't excitable all over the place. He just played a really solid game against the Red Wings the next time out. And for basically 2.5 months, Kochetkov was he was a top 5 goaltender in the NHL. And we've been waiting all year long for that Kochetkov to show up. And even in games where he played well, and I thought he played well tonight.
He did.
Until he wasn't.
Right.
And the adage that you're only as good as the goals you allow, that just sours the entire Kochetkov performance, because when that goal goes in, Carolina's just not generating enough to get 2 goals.
Right. And in fairness, we've been down this road before. As a Senators fan, back in the day, Patrick O'Leam was an outstanding Ottawa Senators goalie. Ottawa had trouble scoring back then. Everyone did. It was a dead puck era. But, they would lose games in the playoffs 1-0, 2-1. What are you supposed to do? Win the game 0-0?
Right.
Like, Carolina does have to score goals, and I believe it's 2 full games where their forwards haven't scored a goal. So there's a little bit of sense made to be there. But I do think both goals on Kochetkov tonight, there was a significant bother at the top of the crease. First goal was Nick Cousins. Second goal, even though he wasn't in the way, but Michael Amadio was there waiting, right?
That was the line, by the way, that scored both goals.
Right, which is, for an Ottawa fan, that is fantastic, because secondary scoring for them has been not good. And Pinto getting off the schneid tonight. I mean, he's a 20-goal scorer in the league. And so he had the most ice time 2 nights ago against Anaheim for forwards. So Travis Green is still playing him a lot. He's a great defensive center. But for him to get off tonight for 2 goals was huge. But again, that net front presence was significant on both goals. And that's something I saw. I think you talked about it already, but Jordan Staal said in post game, they just didn't have it tonight. They didn't have, Ullmark saw most of everything. So that was a big deal.
Yeah. A big part of Carolina's game were shots from deep, from the point with sticks and bodies in front and going after rebounds. And there weren't a lot of rebounds because there weren't a lot of sticks and bodies in front. I thought Brent Burns and Shane Gostisbehere both played good games.
They did.
But their shot attempts, shots on goal, were kind of Twinkies or empty calories, because there just wasn't enough trouble in front of Ullmark. He had so many easy glove saves.
Yep.
I thought Carolina's best chances, Kokoniemi's chance in the third period, where he toe dragged and got inside and he hit Ullmark kind of right above the Senator logo. But then Eric Robinson had the rebound and he slid that wide. I think you referred to Carolina had 2 opportunities on the power play in the first period, got nothing out of it. Second power play was a little bit better. First power play was dreadful. Second one was a little bit better, but once they had like 2 or 3 chances early, when Seth Jarvis missed the net from the dead slot, that was a killer. I don't think they had another shot attempt on that power play the rest of the way. They had a hard time passing the puck. How many times did Aho and Svechnikov collide in open ice? At least 2. They bumped into each other. Like, come on. These guys got to be better than that.
Svechnikov is kind of an enigma to me. We've talked about it before, off air, through text, but man, he's got to take the next step, and he's passing so much, and he's supposed to be a trigger guy. He's supposed to be the guy, second overall, came into the league as an expected scorer, and he's dishing from places where I would think that he would just fire. He's got such a good shot. I assume it's just confidence.
It is.
He works hard. He works after games. I see him on the ice after games. So the work ethic is there. It's just, a lot of sports is mental. And And once he gets over that hump, I mean, Marty Necas has gotten over that hump this year. I thought it would be Svechnikov. Didn't think it would be Necas. So it's reversed a little bit. But once he does, they're going to be a wagon, man.
Oh, I agree. I think there's so much. I mean, think about where Carolina is now. What are they? 18, 10, and 1 on the season. And Sebastian Aho has 7 goals. I mean, he's on pace for 20.
Yeah.
He's been a roughly 35 goal scorer almost every year. He's on pace for 20. Here's what's interesting, because you mentioned the forwards, Brad. Sebastian Aho is now 8 games without a goal, right? But in his last, I just want to get this right. Where did I write it? But in his last, I think, 9 games, he's got 13 points. So, or his last 10 games, he's got 13 points. 8 games now without a goal for Aho. But he has been on the score sheet, and he's been a pretty good player. But even Aho said after the game, I mean, I got to be better. And he also pointed out that we have to find chemistry within lines. So that's a problem for them.
Yeah, I think 5 and 6 in the last 11. There definitely have been worse games for the Canes in comparison to tonight. I thought, like you said, I think they played a fairly decent game. One bounce here or there, they get ahead of the game. That's the problem. They've been behind the game so often in the last 11 games, and they've made some great comebacks. But that's not a recipe you can follow, game after game in the NHL. It's hard to come back. Their third period differential is very, very good. But that, I think, usually is them playing from ahead and just outskating a team, right into their own end. The ice is tilted so often for the Canes because they're so well conditioned. The coaching is so good, in my opinion, and they all stick to what they know and they stick to what they're supposed to do. They don't get outside. They don't get outside the margins. The Hurricanes don't, hardly ever, and that's why they've been so good for the last 7 years.
Brad Fritsch is joining us. All right, just before we let you go, and I don't know, pack gloves and hats into boxes to.
No, 6:45 in Cary tomorrow. Select B practice. Yep.
Oh, that's.
Oh yeah.
Well, I got news for you. We have 2 showcase soccer games tomorrow, and then another one on Sunday, but plus a club match on Sunday. So
that's a lot of running. Good thing you're not doing it.
Yeah. I'm not doing it, and my son isn't doing it either. He's a goalkeeper.
Oh, perfect.
Smart. That's why both of my kids were goalkeepers. They didn't want to run. I understand. I wouldn't want to run either. So tell me, just big picture. Do you believe that the Senators can make a run at a playoff spot? Because I do.
I do. The vibe is a little bit different this year because of the expectation of goaltending before the year and a valid expectation of goaltending with Linus Ullmark. Obviously started poorly. He's coming into his, better form in the last 6 or 7 games. Shutout tonight, I think, is huge for him. He's lost a couple of shutouts late in the last few games. Tonight he gets the shutout. It's a confidence thing. I watched him. He didn't start here in the last game. I think it was November 16th they played here.
No, it was Forsberg.
And Forsberg played, and Ullmark had been struggling. And I watched him in the morning skate. They didn't skate it; just the extra skated. So he was playing with 2 or 3 other guys and coaches. And every goal that went in, he'd look at his glove like there was a hole in it. He'd look at the posts like he was confused, right? He was just at the bottom of his confidence level. And as he's played better the last few games, you could just tell, the shoulders get a little higher. He feels better about himself. He's more square. He's challenging shooters more. He got really deep in the net a couple times early in the season. And just, when goalies get deep in the net, NHL shooters are too good. So the basis for my optimism rests in the goaltending. Forsberg's an okay backup. He's fine. Yeah, he's
Hurricanes
fine.
legend.
Yeah, exactly. And he can steal a few games here and there. But Ullmark has to be the guy. As you so generously pointed out on your show today, Adam Gold Show, 12-3 on 99.9 The Fan. The Senators have a lot of good players.
I like that team.
And they can score a lot of goals. They've scored a lot of goals the last couple of years. The issue has been preventing goals. Mm-hmm. And they've got a little bit of a different system this year, new coach, new coaching staff, few players slotted in different roles on defense. And so I do think that there is a confidence level in the city and on the team that they can make a more validating. Everyone thinks that they can do it this year.
Right.
In past years, it's been, we hope we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the difference, I think.
Look, I think they're good. I think they have high-end talent in Stützle and Tkachuk. You got some veterans. So, I mean, you'll get David Perron back, I would imagine, just to add another veteran guy who can put the puck in the net, Claude Giroux. Look, I was kind of hoping that the struggles would continue and Giroux would be available at the trade deadline. I don't believe that's going to happen. I think the Senators are going to push for a spot. I don't know how many, a lot of people thought, well, we know who the 8 are going to be. I'm not entirely sure. I know Carolina's got to get their goaltending in order. Otherwise, they're going to find themselves in a race they don't really want to be in.
Yeah, I don't see any great team across the NHL this year. Washington obviously has started off amazingly well. Does anyone
they're not
think
a great
that
team?
Right? Is that going to continue? I really doubt it. And then Florida's obviously very good. Everyone else is kind of like the Carolina record right now, 18-10, but you see some flaws. Right? No team is a wagon like Boston a couple of years ago where they had the best season ever.
Right.
Florida, where you just get grinded down by their game. Tampa a couple of years ago where there's just too much talent plus goaltending across the board. There's no team out there like that. I think it's going to be a dogfight the entire way. And there might be a few teams that slip in unexpectedly. Obviously, I'm hoping Ottawa will be one of those. But I do think they have a good chance of making a run this year. And again, as you know, once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen.
Anything. Brad Fritsch, I appreciate your time, man. Good luck. Good luck with the kids tomorrow, and I will talk to you very soon.
Thank you, sir. Enjoyed it.
Hey, thank you. I did as well. That's Brad Fritsch. Friend he was sponsored when he was playing on the tour. He was sponsored by the Ottawa Senators. So why not? We had talked about doing this for a while. I was hoping it would be after a Hurricanes win over the Senators, but it was not. Let me run through a couple of things very quickly, and then we'll jump out of here on the Canes Corner podcast. So all those things we talked about, the net front battles that Carolina didn't provide, or the net front presence they didn't provide, the lack of the fact that they lost too many physical battles. Again, they weren't dominated by any stretch of the imagination. The mistake on the first goal, it's a tough one. One other thing about Kotkaniemi, and I know this is going to sound like I'm coming down hard on him, and I don't think Kotkaniemi was any better or worse than anybody else that Carolina put on the ice among their forward group. They were all just kind of, he had an opportunity against Drake Batherson late in the first period to lay the body on him. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen there. You're in the defensive zone. Batherson's got the puck right on the wall. You're right there. You're not in a situation where you're going to commit a penalty unless you come up high with an elbow, but lay the body on him. And Kotkaniemi stops and he tries to make a play with his stick. Like, this is what will get Kotkaniemi better as a player, more ice time, better in the eyes of his coach and his teammates. You got to play physical hockey. He's got the body to do that. He's just got to want to do that. And if he can do it, he'll be a better player. I know he's got a lot of fans. He should be better. There is no question he should be better. He's got the tools to be better. Man, you just got to play a harder game. And there are times when he does, but man, that was an opportunity to deliver a shot. And he opted out. But at the same time, he made some really good plays in the third period. And I thought he was going to score on the toe drag move. Ullmark was in position and made the save. So that line did some good things. Again, that line probably generated, other than the Staal line, that line probably generated more than the others. It gave up a few more. It was culpable for the first goal. And again, maybe a better decision by Kotkaniemi, but again, it was the Robinson mistake that led to the goal. Kotkaniemi gave the puck to a teammate who should have done better with it, and he didn't. So it's hard to put that on Kotkaniemi, although he had other options, maybe better options. I mean, it happened so quickly. Who knows? But let me very quickly. Andrei Svechnikov, no shots on goal, no scoring chances. Sebastian Aho, 1 shot on goal. This is at 5-on-5. 1 scoring chance. Kotkaniemi, 1 shot on goal, 1 scoring chance. Why that was not considered a high danger chance, I don't know. It should have been. Necas, 2 shots on goal, 1 scoring chance. Eric Robinson, 1 shot on goal, but 3 high danger scoring chances. We got to put those on frame, sir. Jack Roslovic, 1 shot on goal, 2 chances, 1 of them high danger. Therein lies why Carolina scored no goals tonight. Not enough from your forward group. Most of your stuff came from the blue line and the Staal line. Seth Jarvis had a pretty good game, although not a great game. I didn't think. Carolina's got to be better in the forward group. So they have that to iron out, and they need better goaltending. With all of that said, I want to thank Brad Fritsch for dropping by. I want to thank all of you for hanging out. This has been the Canes Corner podcast. We'll be back on Sunday after the Hurricanes hopefully get well against the Columbus Blue Jackets. They need wins. So far in this stretch where Carolina went in, and I thought they needed wins in essentially 6 of 7, the Hurricanes went and lost to the Kraken at home, beat Colorado, thrashed Colorado, went to the Islanders, fell apart in the second period in a loss, beat the San Jose Sharks, but they needed to come from behind to beat San Jose, and lost to Ottawa. So 3-3 in the first. Is it 3-3 in the first 6? No, my math is wrong. 3-2 in the first 5 games of this 7-game stretch. So if they can win the last 2, you're talking about 8 out of 14 points. That's far short from where this team should have been. It's in a funk. It's got to get out of the funk. They need better goaltending. They need better play from the forward group. Is that simple? Is it fair? I think it's fair. Thank you very much. We're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina, aluminumcompany.com. Go check them out. We'll see everybody Sunday on the Canes Corner podcast. Thank you very much for hanging out. Good night.